Today we're going to go back and talk about Intel again, but we're going to do it through the eyes of the Japanese. Now, I pinned on the top of my TikTok the Bomar syndrome, Intel too big to fail. I would highly recommend that you do watch that, and after you watch this, or watch it first. And basically what we're talking about here, in the old world, before 2019, which I call the great central bank financial era, we just kind of said, hey, we're laissez-faire, we'll take care of what the money supply is, what the interest rates are, but you make all the decisions on where you're going to build your production. And as we all know, most corporations made the decisions based on price. Well, in the new world, it's all about control. And so the price is kind of gone away, and it is my belief, one of my narratives, is that governments will become more of a force in developing the economic policy by passing laws, tariffs, and by putting money up, CHIPS Act, okay? But let's look at what Japan is doing. So on the front page, the big read today on the Financial Times is Japan's audacious bid to become a semiconductor superpower. So, a couple things. First, 90% of all our high-end chips come from Taiwan, TSMC. 90%. 60 miles off the coast of China, okay? Second, at one time, Japan was the semiconductor superpower, but they no longer are. But they've decided that they're going to do something about it as a country. So here's the story. Japan got together somewhere, I guess, in 2018-19. They literally state in the article 138 Zoom calls between industry, academia, scientists, government, everybody, to decide that they're going to form a new company, Rapidus. Is that Rapidus or Rapidus? I don't know. But what they're going to do is they're building, as we speak, and at full breakneck speed, a huge plant up there on the Hokkaido Peninsula. Excuse me, I'm totally sorry about that. And the reason they're doing this is they believe that there's going to be about $540 billion in sales in all the different kinds of chips. And as you can see here, in between the 300 and 400, Tokyo unveiled a $65 billion package for the AI and semiconductor industries. So this plant that they're building, they're taking in December, so a delivery of the extreme ultraviolet lithography, EUV machine from ASAML, okay? This is gonna do 2 nanometer chips, and production in scale is set for 2027. Now here's the deal, you can read here, like this guy who's professor retired from Taiwan Semiconductor in 2018, he calls Rapidus' attempt to go straight to making the most advanced chips a ridiculous idea. But around the world, everybody's building fabrication plants, fab plants, and chip plants. And as you can see, Japan is now, put their foot into the water to go to the high end. Remember something, we talked about this before. They're kind of like 3 levels of chips. You got chips for your toaster, your refrigerator, and all this other stuff, your clock and so forth. Then you got your phones and your iPads and your laptops and so forth. And then of course you have your super chips for your data centers and so forth and so on. But interestingly enough, they say in Japan that, you know what, our biggest problem is going to have enough trained professional people to run the plant, all right? Now the reason I'm bringing this up is this is an issue for the entire Western world, okay? Right across from Europe, across America, all the way over to Japan. I mean, we do not have enough people to do this. And they literally say here, you can get the money, the laws, and the structures in place and be right, but you still can fail if you don't have the specialists to run this. Now this article is much, much longer, and I would suggest if you have the FT, I'd go in there, it's behind the wall. But I want to go back to the bottom two paragraphs here. And again, I want you to understand this in the essence of what we have said about Intel. So the first thing is, it says, one certainty is that even if Rapidus fails, if it fails, there will be an extremely valuable fabrication plant up for grabs, a prime target for a host of companies, right? Not a company, a host of companies. And even with all its advantages, there's no guarantee that Japan can break into the first ranks of chip production. What the world has to ask, says one industry expert based in Tokyo, as if Japan cannot do this now, who can? So what does this mean to us? What does this mean to Intel? Well, Intel is our big fabrication plant at the high end, all right? And as we know, they're hurting. You know, just read the news on it. And again, as I point out in the Intel Beaumont syndrome video, it doesn't matter. If somehow, Taiwan gets taken out, right? Taiwan, Chinese fight, doesn't matter. Taiwan gets taken out, or they agree to merge with China, then what are we gonna do? 90% of our chips come from that island. It runs the world, right? Look at NVIDIA. I mean, it's all about chips, and yet Taiwan Semiconductor gives all their chips, makes all the chips for NVIDIA, okay? So, a couple points here. In my Intel video, I mentioned that what makes the most sense for America is that we form a consortium of companies with the government to go into Intel and make it our integrated plant, all right? And guess what? I had no idea that this is exactly what the Japanese had decided to do back in 2020, okay? So I suggest you go on Google and Google their plant and see the size of this thing. It is absolutely massive, all right? So, what do you do as a country? Do we just say, well, we'll just let the businesses make up their minds? Or do we sit there and say, this is in our country's best interest? And there's different ways you can do this. You know, the government can build it. You can make the businesses your partners, whatever it is. What it is we need to talk about it. We need to figure this out. Other people are moving. When you make a move like this, they started in 2020. Their first production is in 2027, okay? 7 years. So if we start today, when's our first production? When, if we are faced with a time when we do not have access to high-end chips, what are we gonna do? Okay? So, what do you think? You know, please tell me in your comments. And by the way, the incoming administration said the first thing they're gonna do on the first day is get rid of the CHIPS Act, which in my mind makes no sense at all. At all. I cannot understand this at all. But what do you think? Like and follow, and let's hit the comments.